Hello and welcome back to our channel. My name is Brian. I'm an English antique dealer living in Normandy in France, and I'm just going to show you a few of the things that we've picked up on our travels this week. Starting here with this beautiful Art Nouveau statue. This is in terracotta. It's painted in muted colours, as you can see, really typical of the period. Art Nouveau was from around 1890 to 1910, part of the Belle epoque era in France. And if you take a look here, it's got Alsace written here down in the bottom, which is an area over on the east of France on the German border. It has got a signature on the back here, but it's very rubbed, very hard to see. But a lovely, lovely statue, very evocative of the Art Nouveau period. Okay, let's put that one over there, and we have here.
When did the Belle Epoque period go from?
It's like being at school. Belle Epoque period was around 1871 to about 1914, beginning of the First World War. So that's the beautiful era in France. And Art Nouveau was part of that, and that was later on in that period. So around 1890 to 1910. I think this is going to be more towards 1910. Beautiful statue. Here we have similar, that one's in terracotta. This one, similar piece, obviously a lot smaller. This one's actually in plaster. We think this is a little bit later because of the style of the hair and the general style of it. But again, a beautiful little statue. Now, what did we find on this, Tracy? Did it have a signature on the back? Again, very faded. We couldn't find it, I don't think. You can see there is the signature, but again, because they're handled and rubbed over the years, it rubs away on the paint. But there's two beautiful French statues. They couldn't be more French, really. Really lovely French antique pieces.
It's nice to see them painted as well, but not in garish colours. Yeah. That's quite nice.
And hard to find these in good condition. I mean, often, because of the nature of what they're made of, they are often chipped, cracked. But these are in very nice order, becoming quite rare, quite hard to find. So there we are, lovely statues. Let's put them over there. What do we have next? I will just say that the large statue had this little crucifix, on a little chain around it, which we'll probably keep with it. It needs to stay together. Now, you had a look at this, Tracy.
It's rusted on the front, isn't it?
It's rusty on the front, but it's probably been on it for donkey's years. And in there is a little image of Madonna. Just in that glass there, and you had a look at it. We found it to be Czech. It's from Czech Republic, or as it was Czechoslovakia. Interesting little piece, and when we sell the statue, that can go with it. We'll keep them together. It's a nice thing to keep these things together. Okay, next we have a lovely little Victorian jug. Now this in French is known as barbotine, which is slipware, or majolica.
Or majolica.
Majolica. Potato. Yeah. Now this, we've got some information on the bottom. Well, we've got some information, we've got some numbers on the bottom. Come and take a look. You can see by the very nature of those, these numbers, that the style of the numbers puts this to me as Victorian. Late Victorian, again, probably turn of the century.
And again, irises were very much associated with the Art Nouveau period.
Yeah. That flowing floral sort of design.
You see irises depicted an awful lot in that period.
Yes, so a lovely little jug. Charming little cream jug, I suppose, Tracy.
Yeah, I would have thought for milk or cream. It's probably a bit big for cream.
Again,
milk,
how it's survived, probably 120, 30 years with no chips. Fabulous. Lovely little colourful jug. Okay, that's that one. Should we do the pan next?
Yep.
I do like the copper pans. We've found this pan today, very heavy. Really, we haven't had a chance to clean this up. But you look here, look at the age of this. Look at that handle, how that's worn over the years.
The rivets are huge as well, aren't they?
Yeah, huge rivets.
The dovetailing very big as well.
Dovetailing is a good indicator of old copper. That definitely dates it to the 19th century, but this I reckon is probably early 90s. It's a very old piece. And can you see that hand hammering around there, Trez?
Yep.
I mean, this is going to look fabulous when it's cleaned up. I'll have to give this a thorough clean. But a lovely ancient bit of copper to hang in the kitchen.
So I thought it had a name on it.
No, I don't think this one has a name. I mean, often they are in this area from Villa-du-Les-Poles, where all the copper comes from, but they're not always stamped. And I think this is a very, very old piece. Heavy piece. There we go, lovely copper pan. And I think lastly today we have this beautiful little frame. This is very much from the Belle epoque period. Everything, I think, apart from the pan, is from the same
but you're going to have to hold it up right.
sort of period. Now this is a photo frame, but interestingly it has a little watercolour in it. Up like that. Okay, yeah. Has a little watercolour in it, a little signed watercolour painting. And I did get the signature. I haven't found who this is, but we have Tranquois, C. Tranquois. And a date for 1913, a year after the Titanic sank, actually. All from that sort of similar period, the French Belle Epoque.
A year before the First World War as well.
Yeah, a year before the First World War, yeah. So, a lovely frame. These are, some writing on the back here. You had a good look at this, Tracy. What did you discover?
Well, I only had a little bit of a look, really, because it wants taking out from behind the stand, because it's right over quite a lot of the writing, but it is signed.
Just signed, yeah. And you said it's something to do with the opening of the theatre?
It looked like it was the inauguration, and then a theatre's mentioned, so...
Yeah, but as I say...
But unfortunately, it's got something else stuck over the top of it, so...
These little frames are for photos, generally. You don't normally get...
No, they're normally photos.
Pictures.
They are for photos.
And they're spring-loaded. That's on a spring in here, and that just pull that
keeps
up
it nice and tight.
Slide it out and put your photo in. Put a photo of your favourite pet, your favourite dog. So there we go. Lovely little photo frame. We've had a very scary week this week. We had a chimney fire. It was a couple of nights ago. I was up in the office doing some work, and I heard a very strange noise. Tracy had banked the fire up downstairs. I could hear this clattery sort of noise. I didn't know what the heck it was, so I shouted down, Tracy, what are you doing with the fire? You're poking it? Were you going mad? And she hadn't gone near the fire, so what it turned out to be was earlier in the spring we'd had a load of rooks trying to make a nest up on the roof, and they dropped their twigs down the side. We have an insert fireplace, so it's an insert, and it's got a tube that goes up, metal tube goes right up the chimney to the top, and the rooks had dropped their twigs down the side, not in the tube itself, but down the side in the actual chimney. And this had caught fire, and I was up there in the room, and I went to the vent, that we have a vent from the fire to come into one of the rooms upstairs, and there's plumes of smoke coming out, so it was absolute panic stations. We got pans of water from the kitchen to put out the fire, because Tracy had ramped it right up because we were going to go to bed. So we were taking pans of water from the kitchen, and we got the fire out eventually, didn't we, dear?
First of all, I took off the wood pieces that were on the fire that I'd put on, because they'd literally been on 2 minutes, so they weren't really alight. I just put them on the fire, so I was able to take them out.
It was a pretty hefty fire though, wasn't it? It was.
No, it wasn't that big. I was able to take the wood out and take it outside and throw water on it, because the wood hadn't caught that much, and also there were only 4 pieces of small wood that I had put on. We had a fire going in the evening, and I was making it up for bed.
It took quite a few saucepans of water.
Yeah, because the ashes were hot in the bottom, weren't they? Yeah. So I took the wood out, because we have a tiled floor. Probably not the best thing to do, but it wasn't too far from the front door. So I put it into the coal bucket and carried it out, and then we put the fire out with water. We are not recommending that this is how people deal with a chimney fire. This is what we did in a moment when all hell was letting loose in the house with smoke everywhere. This is what we did. We then put it out with we put out the heat. We damped the heat down with some saucepans of water, which then evaporated up the chimney. What had actually happened was, because the when we bought the house, the insert and all the mechanics of it, the pipe, everything, already in the house. It was quite an old system.
Probably about 20 years old now.
Probably. We have our chimney swept properly every year.
Which you have to do by
Which
law.
you have to do by law in France, but we have it done anyway. And what had happened was, over the years, the actual pipe had rusted where it joins on to the machine.
You couldn't really see that, but we'd been having a bit of trouble with. We'd been smelling smoke in the room for the last few weeks, hadn't we? Yep. We didn't know where it was coming from. We couldn't see smoke coming in the room, but you could smell it.
Yeah.
And so we knew there was something.
But it wasn't all the time the smoke.
It's funny enough. The day this happened, we'd been down to the people who were going to get a new wood burner put in, and we'd been down and signed the paperwork and paid a deposit for it. But they can't do it till mid-February. So we've got a very long, cold winter ahead because we're not obviously using our wood burner now. That's out of
That's
bounds.
out of. Yep.
When the fireman showed
and
me,
it is our only source. It's our main source of heating.
It's pretty much our own one.
Our only one that we use.
In the insert, you've got this plate, and when he took the plate out, and the fireman, we're going about the fireman. We'll say about the fireman in a minute. Anyway, when he showed me up, you could see where the pipe had completely come askew like this. So,
it rusted through and moved across, hadn't it?
The flames had gone up
Which
into
is
the chimney.
why the twigs had caught. Otherwise, they wouldn't have. But that's why they had caught, because they were then in direct contact with the flame.
So anyway, after this situation, when we damped the fire down, we were a bit dubious. We didn't really want to ring the fire brigade, did we? But
I did.
Well, yeah. Well, we listened, and we could hear a sort of.
Yeah, we could hear it drawing up the chimney.
So we just thought, this was late at night now. It's sort of 11, half 11. We thought, if we go to bed and leave this, and there's some smouldering fire that's catching into, could be in real trouble. So we did ring them, and they were brilliant. They came out within about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Brought the big engine out, and we had about...
Opened the front door, and a load of firemen all trumped through.
We had about 6 firemen, half a dozen firemen in the house.
About 7 maybe, I don't know.
And they were so thorough, they were brilliant. So
they were unbelievable.
The French pompiers, they were superb.
Amazing.
They were there probably for about
a couple of hours,
2
I think.
hours.
Yeah.
Really, really
they checked
thorough.
Absolutely everything. They went round the building to make sure that nothing had come up, because that's the other thing. When I went outside, there wasn't flames coming out the chimney, but I could see little bits of embers and red hot bits coming out the top. This is why we called the pomps. It's not that we didn't want to call them, it's that obviously they've got important things to do, and we didn't know whether this was important enough, but obviously, of course, it was. So we called them out. Yeah,
they got the boss out, didn't they? He came a bit later
with heat-seeking equipment.
Camera, looking down the vents and everything. They were so thorough, and they were absolutely sure for us before they went that it was.
And then they
safe.
traipsed upstairs with an axe and ripped all the skirting board off, because they were worried they could still feel heat against the wall. So they ripped all the skirting board off to make sure. I mean, they were absolutely, I can't praise them highly enough. Okay. And the one thing that the guy said to us, because we apologised for calling them out, and he said, if ever in doubt, just call them out, because he said it's one thing to come out to a chimney fire, but to come out to a house fire is completely different. And to be honest, we could have gone to bed and not known anything. That might have been the last thing we'd known.
An hour later,
earlier,
banked the fire,
and then gone to bed.
Before we'd gone to bed, it could have, the smoke would have filled that room. We wouldn't have known. I mean, we stopped the fire ourselves, but if we'd left it.
But that's not the point. If we'd left it a bit longer, we probably wouldn't have been able to. No. It would have. So, it was only the fact we hadn't had it on all night either. It had only been on literally, about an hour the fire had been on. Put it on to warm the cat up, and then boom.
Very worrying situation.
And it does happen. I can assure you it happens extremely quickly. And suddenly...
Panic stations.
Suddenly it becomes...
So... Well worth checking your smoke alarms around the house. Have plenty of smoke alarms and keep them checked. So serious. We're just so grateful that we've got brilliant pompiers, and we.
They did also say to us that we do obviously live in an old house, and they did say you have to be a little bit more careful with the older houses. Simply, that's just how it is. We've got wood everywhere. We haven't got plasterboard on our ceilings. We've got floorboards from the room upstairs. So everything is wood.
And ironically, we've just had a wood delivery a couple of days before, hadn't we? Just bought 3 stair of wood, which we now can't use till late February by the sounds of it. So now we've gone and bought a couple of little electric heaters from Action, a local shop there, and we shall have massive electric bills, won't we?
Yeah.
Huge electric bills. But
well, we've managed to persuade the cat to hibernate with us in the bedroom, so that means we don't have to heat 2 rooms at night, just one. Well, you know, get it warm enough and that.
So there we go. That's been the adventures this week.
So it is worth definitely
checking machines if you get.
If you've got older machines, like we had.
Be aware that if there's smoke coming into your room with a wood burner, then something maybe not quite right. Worth checking out. Check your smoke alarms. Stay safe.
Well, the guy also at the guy at the place where we're going to buy our wood burner from, he did say you can get technical visits as well. Yeah. So someone would, and to be honest, had somebody come out and done a technical check on our whole system, they would have picked that up before that happened.
I mean, we should have done that.
It's just
such an old machine. It was.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the machine, was it? It was the actual pipe was the problem. It's the pipe that had rusted.
And Darryl made me laugh when he said the other day that when he took his chimney to bits, he took a load of wood out from the birds and he found a pair of glasses in there.
Yeah.
And that made me think of Father Jack from
Father Ted, yeah.
I think it's the mainland episode of Father Ted where the rooks keep nicking his glasses off his head and they build a big nest out of glasses.
Yeah.
So that was quite funny. But anyway, there we go. That's been a bit of a scary week, but we've survived it, thank God. And we've got to wait now till February and try and stay warm because it's freezing today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really temperatures of course, the temperatures have dropped after us. But once again, we would just like to really say how amazing the pompiers were. They were absolutely
really great. The emergency services out here are genuinely brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah, superb.
They're very quick to get out.
And they're very nice as well.
Nice, yeah, very nice. French people generally we find are lovely people. Very, very
and
kind,
the pumps, they were really good, very nice, very kind actually.
So there we go. We will leave it at that and we will see you next time. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello and welcome back to our channel. My name